All right, welcome back. It's the Zim on the Zim video or on the Creative Mind podcast. This is the MCU Aftershow. Thanks a lot for joining us again. This is a super casual conversation about the MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe. But before we get into the conversation, let me mention a few things. If you happen to find this podcast, so first off, it's primarily designed to be a podcast, even though I am recording it on video, and it is publishing on my YouTube channel, those in video. I feel like the primary form is podcast because it's a lot more path of least resistance. However, I know YouTube is a good place for audience building. People may discover it, even though it's super simple. My YouTube version of this show is super simple. It's just basically a profile of my face talking into a microphone. I don't even know if you can see the microphone on this episode. There it is right there. For those that are looking at it. But yeah, so it's a super casual, super simple conversation over there on YouTube, but it's primarily for podcasts. So if you found it on YouTube, be aware that you can just listen to it as a podcast format. If you happen to hear it on a podcast, I don't know if you're listening to it on the podcast, you know me personally. I highly doubt that this is a high level of discovery on the podcast side at the moment. Looks like, based on my podcast stats, so there's been about 13 plays for the last episode on my podcast and about 50 views on YouTube. And we know YouTube probably is like, since the MCU and Marvel Cinematic Universe is so popular right now, a lot of you that might have found me on YouTube might be like, oh, this guy's stupid because I'm just starting out. It's like, oh, this is not what I was expecting. I don't care what Zim has to say, but maybe there's a couple people on YouTube that found me because of something else I've published. Like right now I'm getting a lot of interest in a mobile game I'm playing on YouTube. So maybe there's it's Top War. You'll see it there. But anyways, maybe there's some of you are coming from those Top War videos. So thanks a lot for hanging out. I hope to hear from you in the comments. Like, let's chat it up. Tell me what you think. I want to hear your thoughts and ideas. So the kind of the vision of this show, speaking of vision, WandaVision, my vision for the show is to kind of do somewhat of a, after show. So what does that mean exactly? It's like, instead of just being like, let me respond to whatever show it was, I'll give myself 24 hours and listen to the people that I like on the internet. So there's three main ones right now. There's the John Campea Show, which is a YouTube show. There's New Rockstars, Eric Voss over there, New Rockstars. And then Comic Books Explained and Pop Culture Explained are doing a lot with the MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that's the Rob Core. So those are the three that I kind of consume, but they get their videos out like right away. They're like, on top of it, like the first, like thousands of other YouTubers are like trying to be on top of it. I'm hoping that I don't have to be that on top of it. I'm hoping that there can be room for this to breathe and yet there still be interest, because I want to try to respond to the people that are like, react to the reactions in a way as well as the show itself. So that's kind of the idea of the show. And I'd love your interaction. So if you're on, if you're listening to this on the podcast side of it and you want to comment on something, all you got to do is go find the YouTube version, and the link will be in the description of the podcast, and vice versa. The link to the podcast will be in the description of the YouTube. And then just click over to it and just go into the comment section and say, hey, I wanted to respond to this thing. Maybe even tell me that you came over from the podcast if that happens. So let's get started. And like I said, it's casual. I don't know. I don't really have, I'm developing this because my main objective for this whole idea was to do it for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Like, I want to do this for the entire season of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I thought I was going to start then, but now I was just like, why not start? So I started last week. So what's going to happen is, well, we did last week, kind of warming it up. This week is like the finale of WandaVision. We'll talk about that. I'll tell you my thoughts and ideas, and hopefully you'll chime in with your thoughts and ideas as well. And then next week, since there's like week gap, my plan is to just do like this kind of what the expectation, what are we gonna like kind of go through the previews that we've seen for Falcon and Winter Soldier, and kind of go through expectations and thoughts and predictions and things like that, like what we can find out and discover just then. And then the following week from that will be the first episode, and we'll talk about it. So all right, WandaVision, episode 9, season finale. I just remembered as well, I wanted to give a shout out to, I have a new Patreon supporter. It's Brendan Smith. So thank you, Brendan, for becoming a Patreon supporter. I'll talk more about that at the very end of this podcast and show. So how you can become a Patreon supporter if you want to get in on that. So thanks for that. But anyways, back to what we were talking about. Season finale, MCU after show here of WandaVision. Episode 9. So let's see, impressions of just the show as a whole, this episode as a whole. I honestly was a little disappointed because I think I kind of bought into the hype a little bit with hoping for some kind of thing, some kind of reveal that was going to happen that never really did. And so I kind of was like a little disappointed in that. However, I don't think it was a bad episode by any means. I think it was good. I kind of feel like I honestly wish it was more, I wish it was more obvious what direction Wanda was going to go in terms of like, is she just totally, is she healed, or is she like healed from her grief, or is she still in her grief, but just kind of hiding it better? Or like, what is her plan? Is she like thinking like, okay, I'm over my grief, but I'm not ever going to be a good person again? Because, like those kind of, I don't know, like what's going to happen now? And we'll get into that a little bit more. The way I'm going to break up the show is kind of just go through each character again, like we did last week in a way, and just talk about kind of, now that the season has ended, what it feels like happened with them and what is possibly going to happen in the future. So one of the big things, so I really feel like the biggest part of the finale was that last post-credit scene, like the final post-credit scene was really the biggest like moment of the whole show. Like the rest of the hour or half hour it was only like the total episode was 50 minutes. So there's like, 10 minutes worth of credits. So there's basically only 40 minutes of show, which I guess is okay. I kind of wish all the episodes were that long, but at least that long, like I was talking about last time. But overall, the whole season, like the episodes were way too short. I think they should be a solid hour, just without credits, or I guess with credits, but just like an hour. And do they really need the credits to be that long? Do they need? I don't know. That was just interesting. Hey, do you have your tea with you? I have some sleepy time tea. It's pretty good. It's still way too hot. I can't sip it right now. But the next thing down on my list was, so the post-credit scene makes you like, where was she? My first initial thought was she's in Sokovia. Like she went back to Sokovia and she's living in the mountains somewhere and she's just trying to like find herself in a little bit of ways. But then, that the final scene of it all, like when she's basically like astral traveling to read the Darkhold, which it ended up being the Darkhold, which is a big thing. Like you've probably heard, since the Darkhold was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., does this mean that they're kind of just ignoring Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as canon for the MCU, or what's going on there. I'm curious to see if Kevin Feige and the producers of the universe actually say, yeah, we've decided to just ignore Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., or is this the same Darkhold but just a different cover, or like what, like how does it work? I mean, I don't know how that's supposed to work. But anyways, it's the Darkhold, the magical book of the Marvel universe, and now in the MCU. And what does it mean? So she's reading the Darkhold there, and in the Marvel comics, the Darkhold has a connection with this like powerful being called Chthon or something like that. And so this is like Rob of the Rob Corps believes like that's the way they're going of Comic Books Explained, and of Pop Culture Explained. He's like, that's where we're going. They're going to unleash Chthon. But I kind of don't believe that. It's hard to say whether that's going to happen, because the cinematic universe doesn't tend to go into the deep cuts very much. I guess you could argue that they kind of did with Dormammu, with Doctor Strange, but he was very like, they didn't really have him. He was just kind of there. It was like the other guy, I forget his name, but the other guy that left the order, that was like the main villain, and Dormammu just kind of was like there for a little bit, talked about, but then there for just a moment at the end. But this would be like a Dormammu-like character actually as the villain, not a human, So if that happened, but then it's like, so what does that mean for Scarlet Witch? Does she unleash something, but just then have to fight it or help fight it, or does she become possessed by it in a way, and then she becomes the big bad, which is kind of what I think they're gonna do. That's kind of where I'm thinking they're gonna go, is the Scarlet Witch becomes the big bad. But we'll see. We'll see where that ends up. I don't know. I have no idea. Obviously, I have no. What do you think? Where do you think they're gonna go with it? That's what I wrote down on here. So another main question I had. So that's kind of Scarlet Witch. That's kind of where we're at with Scarlet Witch. The next person I wrote down on my list is Vision. So a couple things that bothered me with the Vision and the White Vision, mainly the White Vision, was, okay, it was just too convenient. They did that TV show massively convenient, didn't really tell you how the technology worked. Like up till now in the MCU, even though obviously it's superheroes and it's like fantastical, but they usually give you some kind of belief that it could have happened. Like, the brains of Tony Stark making the arc reactor, and even though we don't know the technology, but they made me believe that he was capable of creating the technology. But with the way they got the White Vision to act, to kind of operate, they never gave us that person to make us believe they could rebuild Vision. Like, who was the smart person there? They never gave us that. So it really felt kind of like, how did they do this? Like, it seemed like, because when the real Vision was alive, he had the Mind Stone in him. So there was this element of like magic, just straight up magic about him, that made him able to do what he was able to do. But this White Vision, there's none of that. He's just all machine. I guess you could say he's got the magic from the drone when Scarlet Witch, like that magic energy that way. But that just seems so, like, it's so unbelievable. It's like too far of a stretch for me to believe it could happen, but they did it, and he's there now, and he exists, and now he has all the memories of the real Vision. Like, it's been unlocked in him. So where is he? Like, the question now is, where is he, that a lot of people are asking about, or like thinking about, like, where did he go? What did he do? They had that intellectual, a lot of people like John Campea over at the John Campea show thought that scene where he was doing that intellectual battle with the two Visions was like their favorite part of the whole that whole episode. which I don't know if it was my favorite. I don't really think I have a favorite part. I have a couple least favorite parts, but in terms of favorite parts, I watched it twice. I just felt like all that felt a little rushed. It was like too convenient, which happens all the time in serialized shows more often. Like, it doesn't feel like the way movies are made, are designed. You have 2 hours, usually for this arc of a story, and they're usually able to put it together in a way, especially Marvel ones, in a way that makes it feel like it feels right. But some of the pacing of this didn't feel, it felt too convenient at a lot of times. Like the scene where Jimmy Woo is able to pick up the phone and nobody cares. It's like there's people all around him. Either they all get it and they're like, yeah, we don't like Hayward either. Or I don't know. That was just, it's like, oh, super, like he's just all nonchalant with his hands. Like you'd see that. Like everybody would see that. I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. That was a little bit annoying. But I love Jimmy Woo. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt there. But back to Vision. Yeah, just a little too convenient. But so my prediction, I'd like to hear from you if you're willing to chime in on the comments. Like, where do you think Vision went? I kind of feel like, I mean, he would know, what memories did he get? Like, there was a breakdown on New Rockstars where they broke down what they saw, like the images they showed during that process where he was kind of getting the memories. And they were like images of him seeing his own death, like we saw in the movies. So is he just getting data unlocked from everything that was said and told? Or is he actually unlocking the memories of Vision? Or how, like, where was that? So if it's more the memories of Vision, I kind of feel like he's gonna go try to find his makers, right? He's gonna go try to find Tony Stark and Bruce Banner and, those people, like, to understand who he is a little more, maybe, or something, like, and then he'll find out, oh, Tony Stark doesn't exist, or something, there will happen. I don't know. That'll be interesting to see. I have no reason. I don't know. That's just what I think would be really cool. I think it would be really cool if he's like met up with Bruce Banner and like had a conversation like, these guys over at Sword put me back together. I know you're one of the people that helped, you started me, now that I've been, I don't know. That's kind of what I think. So he'll kind of start to put things back together. It'll be interesting to see if Wanda meets him again and what that's going to be like. A lot of prediction is that he's going to show up again in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, or he could just be shelved for a while and show up in somewhere we don't expect. I don't know. Where do you think he's going to show up? I don't know where he's going to show up. All right, moving on. Because that's, I don't know, that's kind of why I think Vision, the Wanda made Vision, said what he did at the end was partly because he knew that White Vision was out there for Wanda to meet again, and they'll meet again. It's like that kind of whole idea. So let's see. Agatha Harkness, right? Harkness. I think last time I was saying it like Harkness without the K in there. Harkness. Agatha, like, what do we think is going to happen with Agatha? What do we think about the whole last episode? I like the fact that she was the only villain and they gave her a decent amount of power. I think they possibly kind of changed. I don't know enough about the comic books, but a lot of people thought she was just going to be a servant of somebody more powerful, but they didn't do that. She was like she was it, which was great. And another thing, Catherine Hahn. So last time I said, how should I know this person? And I was reminded by my research between then and now that my favorite movie of all time is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and she played Olivia Octavius, right? Or is that her name? Liv? Anyways, and she was the voice of Doc Ock in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So I feel a little bit dumb for not remembering that at the time, but now we remember. So that's what's happening. So what's gonna happen with it? Like, there's this speculation in one of the so New Rockstars brought up this idea. Eric Voss said he was like speculating that because she said, at the end, Wanda says, I'll see you, I'll something like, I'll see you when I need you, or I know where to find you, and I'll see, or something like that. And then she replied, not if I see you first, kind of idea. So it makes me wonder if maybe her spell didn't work as fully as Scarlet Witch thought it did. Like, maybe she's still in there, like Agatha is still in there, and she might break free herself. Or what I do like though is that they leave the possibility for her to come back, because she was a really good character, and I'd love to see her in an actual feature. Like, bring her into a feature film, because another thing about the last episode was it was very cinematic, which I was very thankful for. Like, it did not feel made for TV, like some of the episodes have at times. There were minor moments that felt made for TV. A little bit in the kids acting, like when they left, and we'll get to them later. But when the one, I don't know the names, like I don't know who's who well enough yet. Like, which one is Tommy and which one is the other one? What are they? I don't even remember the names. But Billy and Tommy, right? Like, which one is Wiccan and which one is Speed, right? I don't know which one is which. I didn't write it down. But the Wiccan one, says mom needs us or whatever. We need to go right now. Like, that was pretty bad acting. That was pretty bad. I mean, I don't know they're kids and everything, but it just looked bad. It looked very sitcom, made for TV acting. It did not feel cinematic acting at all. So that was a moment. But so who we're talking about? Agatha, and like bringing her back. Oh yeah, I kind of got sidetracked with the cinematics of this last episode, which felt really good. So they have the option to bring her back, and I'd like to see her in a feature, because I think she would be really cool on the big screen with that kind of, like, that witchy vibe that she was throwing down. So yeah, looking forward to that. I don't know what else to really say about that at the moment. So we'll see where that goes. We'll see if she does come back, what the plan is there. Hayward, kind of a throwaway character a little bit, right? He just it was kind of awkward. It really, I don't know. I felt like his whole, like, I'm just this weird, he's just like a weird dude that was doing what he wanted to, and they kind of didn't give him enough, like, that. I don't know. It just felt like he didn't have enough substance in the last little sequence. And then he is like, oh, let me run away. Is that what he was trying to, like? It just felt kind of weird. Like, the writing of that whole sequence with him coming into the hex, and it just felt like, oh, that's it. He didn't really have a great mastermind plan. He was just kind of like, I don't know. It felt like, so the name of the character from the X-Men universe that I kind of felt like he was acting like was Stryker, from Wolverine, and that, like, how Stryker hated mutants. And I kind of felt like if they pushed him more of that place, and maybe gave him like an out, or maybe made it not so, I don't know, found a way to like keep him relevant. Like, now he's just gonna go to jail, right? Because he broke the Sokovia Accords, because he brought Vision back to life. Like, that was not supposed to happen. Like, you weren't supposed to do that, but he wanted to do it anyway. So it just felt kind of like, I don't know, a little awkward. There was a little bit of awkwardness, but I guess they needed a vehicle to get White Vision alive again, and that was it. He was like a collateral damage. Like, we need to bring White Vision into this. How are we going to do it? We'll develop this character named Hayward that's just going to be locked into WandaVision, and we'll never talk to him again, possibly. I don't know, unless something different happens down the line. We'll see what happens there. But Jimmy Woo, my favorite character of the whole series. My new favorite MCU character. God, so great. Like even in this last episode, even though he didn't get a lot of screen time, he got, when he was there, those scenes were always just so much better. Like they just elevated like his way of acting. So good. So good. Let's see. I'm going to stay on this idea. Like I hope they make him kind of the new Coulson in a way where he shows up often throughout the MCU. We'll see. He's like the FBI kind of leader right now. I know. So we know, this might be the connection. This might be how they connect. Or was she CIA? Oh, no. Okay. Sharon Stone, right? Was CIA at the end of the Winter Soldier, Captain America Winter Soldier. She ended up going to this after SHIELD got taken down. She became CIA. So that's not I thought there could be a connection between, but anyways. So, but what's going to happen with Jimmy Woo? Who knows what's going to happen? I'm glad they gave him a little bit of screen time because he kind of like after a couple episodes ago, it's like, oh, where's Jimmy? Like, what's going on? But, and then he brings back some of the sleight of hand Ant-Man magic stuff with the flourish that little statement he said when he took the handcuffs off. So good callbacks there. Pretty fun. But nothing, I don't know, nothing really else to mention about Jimmy that I can think of. What can I think of? I don't know. I can't think of anything else to say. Darcy didn't really get anything. She just was like, I don't know. I guess her contract was up or something. She just had that one scene where she rans Hayward and then that was it. Kind of, I don't know, interesting. Great. I'm glad she got a little bit of time at the end there, but really interesting. Hopefully she comes back. Hopefully they do that thing with that a lot of the internet and a lot of people are kind of speculating, hoping for like an X-Files, what the MCU's version of X-Files with Jimmy Woo and Darcy would be cool. They had cool chemistry. I'd like to see her back in the MCU somehow. The kids, like I was mentioning, yeah, that's really the only thing about the kids. Not overly impressed with the whole kids thing. The worst, there's two worst lines. This came up in the John Campea show. And it really, I noticed it while I was watching, but I didn't and then I just kind of forgot about it. But because it came up again, I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk about this. This is, there's two lines in the whole show that really bothered me that I just didn't make sense to me. Did not make sense. And one of them, the first one was when Wanda, like the kids are in that kind of, they're all in the Incredible stance with like, the family is about to fight, right? And Vision says, we've never prepared you for this. And then Wanda says something like, this is what you were born for or made for or something. And it's like, what? It's so like, huh? It's like, it felt like that line was cut from some other piece of the script that didn't make it. Like there was more movie, there's more show, there's more writing around that made that line make sense that just did not get get put into the show. So that was like, I was like, what? That makes no sense. It's like, I don't know. It was a little bit forced. Like the whole ability, the relationship of the kids being able to understand their powers and actually help just felt a little forced, a little bit like, this seems awkward. But I did notice, and it was brought up by Eric Voss on New Rockstars as well. I noticed right away that when Speed, the fast kid, got the last police officer guy, he grabbed his sunglasses and hat, and at that moment I was like, oh, that's just like the X-Men Quicksilver scene, like the hat and the glass. And then they mentioned that on New Rockstar. So I was like, okay, somebody else did see that as well. Okay, Monica. So how did we feel about Monica? I still stand by what I said last time, which I'm not too happy with her. I don't know. She just doesn't feel like a superhero yet in terms of like the way she's embodying this character. Maybe it'll work out as they move forward. I guess the word on the street is she's going to be in the next Captain Marvel movie. And then they did answer the questions of like, is she gonna? She was basically a bystander this whole battle, because it's like, how do you put her? She just got her powers, and how is she gonna use them? And like, how did that all work? Like, was she willing to actually sacrifice herself for these non-real kids? I mean, she knew they weren't real kids, right? So why did she jump in the way of the bullets? And was she prepared to die, or did she know that she was going to be able to stop the bullets somehow? And did she know that's the way she was going to, like, there's a lot left to be explained with at what level she understands her powers. And like, why did it take her so long to like figure it out with the fake Pietro, with what was the Ralph Boner ended up being his name? Like why didn't she just like bust through the wall? Like, I don't know. It's just like there was a kind of interesting, I don't know, confusion around how much she understood what her body was able to do. Like, she could get flicked by him in one scene, and then 2 minutes later she's able to like flip him over and use her spectral vision to see where he's being controlled. Like that, it was just like too convenient. That whole sequence was like, I was like, okay, you got to figure it out somehow. Somehow this has to work itself out, and that's just the way they decided to do it. So it's like, fine. But we'll see where it goes from there. And then, like, knowing she has power, like, everybody saw, like, I don't know, could those police officers that were frozen see, like, those, or whatever, SHIELD officers see her? And did they see bullets go through her? And then, then knowing what she's able to do now, everybody's cool with it, and because there's no real, like, it just seemed like, are people just cool with this or what? Because like, and is she gonna become the next like head of Sword? Is that what the plan is, or is she just gonna be kind of like not official Sword anymore because she's got these crazy powers now, and something new is gonna, like, it's gonna be really interesting to see where they take her character and what that whole thing is. Who do you think she was gonna be meeting? I think is Nick Fury. I'm pretty confident it's Nick Fury. And like this whole, so that first post-credit scene, they go into the theater. We see the Skrull. Is it Skrull, right? Is that how you pronounce it? Skrull, that person changed into a Skrull, and she's like, oh, okay, I've seen you guys before. And then that she points up, like, I guess, insinuating that in space. So it kind of makes the end of, it connects the end of Spider-Man Homecoming to this whole sequence. So Nick Fury has been working, like, why? Like, this is what I don't understand either. It's like, is Nick Fury part of Sword now and working on the space station thing with Sword and the Skrull, or is Nick Fury just working with the Skrull and nobody knows he's there except for a few people, including Monica? Like, and then Nick's still kind of doing his spy stuff, his like, I know things that a lot of other people don't know, and I'm working in the shadows a little bit. And like, how do they explain why? Like, how are they going to explain why he sent Skrulls down to meet with Peter Parker and do all that stuff instead of himself? There's a lot of unanswered questions around that. But now we know there's a bridge there where Sword has been working on the space station thing. Monica's going to go up there, I guess, soon, somehow. We're going to find out. Like, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where all that leads. And then I think that also opens the door for the Fantastic Four, and their origin story is this space station, because that's pretty much their origin story in the comics, is something, they go to outer space and they get transformed. But we'll see where that ends up happening, what happens there. And then there's the fake Pietro, as he's been known. What did we think about that whole situation, Evan Peters, how they explained it all? I'm okay with it. I'm a little bit, it was a little bit, I don't know, cheesy to use Evan Peters for this whole thing. Like, why do they need, I guess it was just a publicity stunt. It ended up just being a publicity stunt in the end, just to say, like, let's get people talking about this show. Let's throw in the Evan Peters Quicksilver, from Quicksilver in the Fox universe, so that everybody will be saying, oh, they're going to start bringing in the X-Men. Oh, it's going to be a multiverse. Oh, it's going to be this. And, that whole thing. Like, so a little disappointed with that aspect of it, but it was fun. It was fun speculating. I don't know. I think I did. When he first showed up, I thought, like, are they going this way? But as hearing other people talk about it, and I'm like, yeah, I really feel confident. I think I mentioned last time too that if they brought in the X-Men now, it just would be kind of like, how do you explain that? There would be so much to explain with the X-Men, especially if you want to use Professor Xavier and Magneto. Like, how are they gonna bring in those two characters and have it make sense? Are they just gonna rewrite their own version, or are they gonna go find some way? Like I said last time, is Wanda gonna rewrite reality, and this is how we're gonna get them? I don't know. We'll see. We shall see. So what's next? What is next for this whole idea, this path we're on? So we know the arc of this story, what we've heard from Kevin Feige, is that WandaVision, the next Spider-Man movie, and Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness all connect. They're all part of a similar story arc. So it's like, okay, so what's happening in Spider-Man that's part of this thing? I have no idea. The Multiverse of Madness makes sense because we know Scarlet Witch is a Nexus being now. We've MCU has introduced this idea of the Nexus being. So in that idea, they're saying, yes, we're acknowledging a multiverse. They've mentioned the multiverse multiple times in the first Doctor Strange. They've mentioned multiverse in the last Spider-Man movie. Multiverse is part of the lexicon of the MCU. So now we just got to figure out what they mean, how they're going to connect this together, what their version of the multiverse is. Like, I think it means less of what everybody else. I feel like everybody thinks it means multiples of the same character, like Spider-Man in the Spider-Verse multiverse. But I think it means more like different dimensions, like Dormammu's dimension, the mirror dimension, all these different places, these portals to like the underworld. That's what I think the multiverse is going to be more like than seeing multiples of the same character. But we'll see. We shall see what they do. And then who's going to be the big bad is an interesting thing to think about. Is it going to be Wanda? Is the Scarlet Witch going to be the big bad, or are they going to find a way to redeem her a little bit or keep her from going all the way to the... I don't know. It'll be interesting because, the MCU tends to do kind of a light version of Marvel stories. They don't go super crazy extreme like the comics do. So we'll see where that is. So that's what's going on there. And then, so that's it. We did it. That's what I have to say this week. I'd love to hear if you, I don't know, dig in on how I'm talking about the shows, talking about the ideas. Let me know what you think. Feel like I missed something. Like, it would be super massively helpful to get like questions from you guys if you want to contribute and just ask me. It's like, what do you think about X, Y, or Z? And we can dive into it. And I'm happy we can open up this conversation to anything in the MCU. Like, we can use a part of the podcast to talk about anything that happened at any point in the MCU. I've watched all the movies multiple times, and I'm continually watching them over because of things that come up. Like, I just watched Doctor Strange again recently because of its connection with this. Oh, that's one thing I wanted to mention. I was wondering, did you think when Agnes lost her ability to cast her spells, what did you think was happening right there? That's where I thought the reveal was going to happen. I thought there was another force preventing her from being able to cast the spell. I thought they're going to pan the thing and they're going to show Doctor Strange and, or something like that, which wouldn't have made sense, but it's much better the way they did it. But that's kind of what I thought was like happening. But then they showed that it was Wanda being a quick study, learning like these runes. Okay, let me put these runes in my house. This is my house. So anyways, that's just that one last thought there. I'll probably, when we start doing Falcon and Winter Soldier, I'll probably bring a notebook. I'll probably do better note writing. Like, I'll watch it once without any notes. I'll watch it a second time, take some notes, and I'll just start taking more notes as I watch these reviews and different things. So, but I think I did a decent job today, keeping on task. I did write things down, but just all at once here. Cool. So that's it. Like I said, if you want to support this is what I'm doing, everything, then check it out, patreon.com/thezim. There's a bunch of tiers levels over there. You can find the link for that in the description, wherever you're listening or watching this. It's down there in the description, so check it out. And until next time, be loving, kind, and patient. Peace.